Hi, welcome to Writing 251. I'm your instructor, Janet Reed, and I wanted to spend a few minutes making this video to welcome you to the course, to share some personal information with you, to also share some expectations and highlights of the syllabus for your review. I understand I am no TikTok celebrity. Video is not my thing, and I have a really hard time making a quality video. However, I care a lot about creating community and a good learning experience. And an online platform makes that a little bit difficult, so we have to work extra hard to overcome it. And I wanted you to be able to see me and to hear me and to have some engagement and interaction in the class platform outside of just a flat two-dimensional communication. So with that said, let me introduce myself to you first. I have been an English teacher for the last 20 plus years. I have worked for several organizations, institutions, and most of my career I spent at Crowder College. I retired full-time from there in 2019, moved to Kansas City to start working on an MFA program in creative writing. My first book came out in 2019. It's called Blue Exhaust. I'm very proud of it. And I'm currently at work on the second book. And this course fits in nicely because it makes me talk about fundamentals and make sure that I'm paying attention to them as I'm holding you accountable for fundamentals. So it's a win-win for me, and I'm super happy to be here and to share what I know and to learn with you. Right? So as a writer, I have been writing since I was a little girl. It was an interest of mine early. I started reading Nancy Drew mystery stories. When the bookmobile would stop by my school, I'd drop in after school and pick up a couple of Nancy Drew novels, head home on my bicycle, and no one would see me for hours while I devoured those books. Then I decided I wanted to write them. I loved Nancy Drew, but she was not like me. She was blonde. She had a rich daddy. She had a boyfriend who always came to her aid when she got into scrapes. I mean, she was audacious and she was courageous and she was things I liked, but she needed a guy and I didn't. So I wanted my own character. And so I developed a character named Laura Drake, and Laura was a brunette. She wore jeans. Her family didn't figure materially into my stories. And she drove a purple VW Beetle. And I'm dating myself by telling you about VW Beetles, but they were really popular when I was a girl. All of the avant-garde people drove Beetles in VW vans, right, when those were really cool. And so Laura needed one, and I wanted it to be purple. So that's what a middle school girl does with her character. But Laura took on real personality and she took on real cases, and I got to explore a lot of the issues that were ongoing in the late 60s, early 70s while I was writing her stories. And then I put it away. High school got busy. I went out to college and I journaled. I wrote things. I did a lot of academic work, but I didn't really get serious about the craft of writing until both my folks were dead. And I think that writing is such a personal thing, and the subjects one chooses to write about have, what would you say, have little clicks in a family, right? Ticks or clicks where they jar something and raise questions. And there were just places that I didn't want to have those conversations. So the writing I did, I kept to myself. And then once my mom died after my dad, and once she died, I felt like I had the freedom to go into those places and then to really delve into publishing and craft and revision and develop that part of my writing life. And that's where I am. I'm still doing it. And Laura Drake and that first foray into writing gave me the belief that I could do it. And so what you have to do to be a writer is to write. And who gets to decide when you're satisfied with the work and whether it's good or not, that's on you. Editors are so subjective, and they all have the things that they like and that they don't like, and rejection is a part of the writing world, but it doesn't signal the quality of the work at all. So with that said, I want to go into some expectations of the course, because that's central to doing well in this course, is to know that I am not here to tell you that your work is good or not good, or to put a letter grade on your work. This is a workshop, and we are here to experiment, to try new things, and to embrace a creative, artistic part of ourselves. This is a workshop class. It is the only, I believe, area of the English discipline that is not academic based. It is performance based. And so how can I tell you how good your work is? I can't, right? But what I can do is to see how much effort is being put into it. Are the expectations of the course being met? Are you meeting deadlines? Are you taking revision suggestions that somebody's giving to you and revising, trying to incorporate some of those ideas as trial and error into your work? That's what I'm looking for. So we don't have any tests, and you will do as well in this course as the effort that you put into it. It's really clear who's putting in effort and who isn't. And so I am looking for that. And I have set up a syllabus and a tentative schedule that will allow you to put yourself in the experiment of writing your story and your poetry, and then rewarding you in terms of points and a final grade in the course for how well you meet those expectations and how much you invest yourself in the process. Okay? So, a couple of things about the class. You need 2 books. The first one is this one, Writing Fiction. It is very inexpensive, and it's also extraordinarily well done, I think. It's an anthology asking writers who have a particular expertise with a part of fiction to tackle a particular element of fiction. We'll be doing a chapter of this each week for the first 8 weeks of the course. It will be part of the discussion board that we will do, and I hope that you'll be able to use it as well as you're writing your story, which will be due by midterm and worth 200 points for the fiction part of the course. The second book that you'll need for part 2 is Kim Adonisio's Ordinary Genius. It's not expensive either, and there are a number of used copies available very inexpensively if you prefer to go that route. You won't need it until about week 9, but you will need it. So, and if anybody has any trouble obtaining either one of these books, please let me know and I'll help you out. All right? Okay, so the way the course is going to be organized is the class week begins Sunday at midnight and it ends Saturday at midnight, end of day. All right? In the meantime, you will have an assignment to read one of the chapters of the book, to listen to a New Yorker fiction podcast in the fiction unit, and probably some other kinds of video in the poetry unit, to answer a discussion question by Wednesday at midnight. All right. And so when I say to answer a discussion question, it's going to be a fairly complex question based on the reading in the book and the story that we have listened to on the podcast. So I expect roughly 250 to 500 words as an answer to the discussion board question on Wednesday. By Friday at midnight, you'll need to respond to 2 of your classmates and with substantive conversational engagement. I don't reward or give credit for answers that are just like, oh, I agree. That's such a good point. That's not materially adding anything to the conversation. So again, an online format is great in terms of flexibility. It also creates some distance, and we have to work extra hard to overcome that difference. So I want you to approach the discussion board as if you were in class and you were sitting around a table and you were having a conversation with your classmates. All right, so that's the discussion board. Also, each week you will have a short writing assignment that will be due by Saturday at midnight. And those writing assignments will come from the element of fiction that we're discussing for the week and ask you to focus on the character, to focus on plot, to focus on any one of those elements that we're going to discuss, right? And last year, it worked really well, and I hope it does for you too this year, to use those short writing assignments as the bones for the story that you'll be creating as we get closer to midterm. You'll have one due, a big draft due before midterm that will be workshopped and will be worth 200 points. And then you'll need to revise it for the final portfolio that comes in the last week of class, right? So hopefully those short writing assignments will help you develop the structure and the plot and the characterization for the story that you're going to write. If it doesn't and you just want to write something else, fine. I don't care. But we get busy as the semester goes forward, and if you can use those writing assignments to help craft the story, the longer story that you're going to write, super. That's helpful, right? Okay, so about the workshops, I will do another video as we get closer to workshops and talk about those specifically. There's a real art to doing a workshop and doing it well. Writing is super personal, and workshopping is very intimidating. And I have seen good workshops and I have seen bad workshops. I don't want a bad workshop in this class. I want everybody to feel really positive and surrounded by encouragement and energy from each other. So how we will do workshop, I will go into that more later, but know that you will need to workshop a draft of your piece, probably week 6, 7, and 8, depending on how many students we have in the course. I will do a calendar and a schedule and let you sign up for those later, but we will have one, and I expect everybody to respond to everybody's work. That is the key of the class, is workshop and workshop participation. Without that, we don't have a good learning community and we don't have a good class. So, you know, I'm kind of the old hippie who would be driving the VW van, right? And wearing the Birkenstocks and the flower print skirt. That would be me, right? But in this case, I have to be the old school marm with the ruler in my hand and say, this is the way this class has to run, because it's not good for anybody if it doesn't run that way. So the expectation is that you will be participating in workshop and that you will be giving it the time that is required to do that. Having said that, it's not burdensome, I don't think, and I won't have more than 3 or 4 a week on workshop weeks, and we won't have a discussion board in those weeks when we're workshopping. So I make it very doable, but I expect a lot of attention to be paid to the workshop. And so we'll be talking more about that as we go forward. So those are the big things of the class, the big expectations. I want you to bring your best self. I want you to be creative, to use your energy, to experiment, to be open to ideas, and to exercise things, do things that you might not be comfortable doing if you had a grade hanging over your head. Right? So experimentation can lead to some really interesting and delightful places. And that's my goal, is that this class will allow you to develop those strengths and to find out what really works for you and what doesn't work so much. So I will stop the video here in just a minute with a final comment that, once again, I'm really happy you're here. I'm happy I'm here, and I'm always happy to entertain your questions and to help you in any way I can. I'll be glad to set up a Zoom link and have a conversation with you about your work at any point, or email, or however you need to get in touch with me. I will be glad to help you work on what you want to work on, and to learn the craft of writing fiction and the craft of writing poetry. So let's go do it. Get your pencil sharpened, or if you prefer a computer, get a new folder set up for writing assignments and for ideas, and start thinking about characters and all of those kinds of things. And we'll be off and running here very, very quickly. So again, it's nice to meet you. I hope that when December comes, we all feel like we have had a great experience and are kind of sad to see this semester end. So welcome aboard, and go look at the syllabus and the first week's assignments, and let's get started.